The first day of school eve, all of you parents out there should be smiling. It's like, for parents, it's like a day before Christmas is for kids. Anyway, we will have a roll call. Ms. Barnes?
President Kaminsky,
Here.
Vice President Kelly,
Here.
Clerk Wood. Here. Trustee Cooper,
Here.
Trustee Christensen,
Here.
Trustee Napier,
Here.
Trustee Sweeney absent, Superintendent Bell,
Present.
and I'm Deanna Barnes.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Next item is flag salute and moment of silent reflection. To lead us tonight, we have Ms. Jennifer Butler, Coordinator of Instructional Support and Improvement.
All right, good evening, President Kaminsky, trustees, Superintendent Bell, and community. Thank you for having me. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for the agenda to be approved?
Kelly, make the motion. Second.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Cooper to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 3, we have a presentation from the principals at Jacobson Middle School and Tehachapi High School about their bullying initiative. Ms. Libatique and Mr. Adamson.
Good afternoon, Board. We're here to present the bullying policy, our prevention interventions, and investigation process. And so if we'll go to the next slide.
So this is just a brief, this is a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today. The state requirements, policies, procedures, professional development, prevention, and accountability.
So first we want to define what is considered bullying. The word bullying can sometimes be used in a way that we casually use versus what is the more legal definition of it. In the more legal definition of what we call bullying, it's an unwanted aggressive behavior that involves a real perceived threat or power imbalance. Bullying behavior is repeated and has the potential of being repeated. So often we'll say bullying, and there can be an often mutual balance of aggression or unkindness towards each other. When it is the more legal definition of bullying, there's that imbalance of it where it is a one-sided venture where one person is a victim and another person is an aggressor.
So this is the policy and procedure straight from the TUSD website. Do you want me to read this? Okay. But this is what is listed on our website, and this is what we follow as a district.
So the first thing is the reporting protocol. When a student is being bullied,
Sorry.
we got to height different. When a student is being bullied, there are multiple ways for them to report the case of bullying to either site. The first one is in person, and when we say in person, that is to any adult on staff. It does not have to be a teacher, it does not have to be an administrator, it can be a clerk, it can be a custodian, anybody they report to, and those people then would report up so that the appropriate people are following up on it. We also have the Say Something app. The Say Something app is something we give and we'll talk more about Say Something, but we give lessons on students on how to use the app, how to access the app, how to report out from the app. Often calls and emails tend to come more from parents, so when parents find out about a case of bullying, they can call the school, make it aware, but any one of these are all ways that it can be reported to us and that we immediately go into action with it.
So the investigation protocol. Once we become notified, whether that's because a student said this is an event that happened, a parent reported it, it was reported to a teacher reported it to us. However that information comes to us, the first thing we do is review the report. Depending on what has happened, we look at, do we need to do like right now, immediate interim safety measure? So if, for example, a student says that because of this, they're suicidal, right? Well, like immediately before we investigate what happened before that, we have to take care of the suicide risk. So the interim safety measure is the first step. Once we do that, we start investigating, right? What happened, who was there, who saw this, who heard this, do we have text messages, are there screenshots? And then as we get a witness in, then they add more witnesses and more witnesses. And so you just keep going and going and going until you get a sense of what has happened. So you interview witnesses, you interview the perpetrator, if there's any evidence, look at all of that before coming up with a plan. So whether that's a disciplinary consequence, whether that's a restorative action, again, depending on the severity of the issue, and then also making sure to document those follow-ups. So we may have squashed the issue today. That doesn't mean that a week from now, a month from now, everything's going to be fine. So doing routine check-ins.
With that, there's a couple of things that we do throughout the year to work with our staff in terms of addressing bullying, making aware of bullying, what are the signs of it, and how do we deal with it. Capturing Kids' Hearts is one area where that program allows us to create school climates, classroom climates, in which it should be a safe space for them to build and trust adults so that they're able to report. Obviously, the more students can trust staff members, the more likely they are to share with staff members what's going on with them. Staff meetings is one where we're able to address all the concerns and needs that we have as they come along. New this year is PRISM. PRISM is a part of Assembly Bill 5. It is one that is addressed specifically to secondary. Our teachers have been working on this as of this week, going into the next couple of weeks. We're getting teachers through this training, where again, it identifies marginalized groups of students who are more prone to be bullied, historically, to be the target of bullying, how it affects them, what are the proven methods of addressing it so that they have the ability to feel safe at school and to excel at school. Suicide prevention training is one that we go through every year, that we see the signs, that we learn how to communicate with students who have suicide tendencies or have suicidal thoughts. One of the big things, like we'll go through in that training, is being direct on it. We don't hem and haw around it. It's directly, do you feel suicidal? And having that type of blunt conversation with students so that we're able to do it and where to direct them to get the support they need. Number 5 is one that we're excited that is going to be in your agenda now, is our partnership with TPD. TPD has been a great partnership at both of the school sites, at the middle schools. I'm sure the elementaries also enjoy them. But the way that they're able to work with us, talk with students, and just support the overall atmosphere is one that we're excited to see continue today. Student Support Service Solution encourages that we have a robust investigation process. It looks like we got in there twice. It also supports the suspension and expulsion trainings. And then the SIS modules, again, ways that we train teachers to understand the signs of bullying, that often when students are bullied, they may not be direct in it, so learning the things that make us want to ask the questions, to recognize it and have that support, so it's not just what we know, but what we can know and should know to build those things.
And then as far as prevention education, and because we now have our school social workers and intervention specialists, they do monthly SEL lessons. We also put these, whatever the theme is for the month, goes into the bulletin, just as a reminder of, empathy or self-confidence, whatever that character trait theme might be. We have our Say Something assemblies, so there's one at the beginning of the year that really talks about like tolerance, just being empathetic, being respectful, and then, excuse me, the Say Something assembly where they talk about what you do as a student if you see a friend exhibiting signs. We both have, in different ways, Bulldog Basics, and then we do a beginning of the year. This year we're doing a video, but where we explain, Say Something, how the app works. Our counselors also do it in their 101s. We have our safe and inclusive school lessons. So those are done, half of them at our school are done in English and half are done in social studies. I believe you guys do it in your advisory or flex
Yes.
period. The CKH, which again, that's one of our professional development, but it's also a prevention strategy to create that culture of empathy and accountability. And then PBIS, defining those school-wide expectations.
Going into our prevention and intervention strategies, when we do have a case of bullying or the starting cases of bullying, one of the things we have is counseling referrals. One of the things that most bullying research will say is, while we need to look to provide a safe and protective environment for the target or the victim of bullying, that often the bully, him or herself, it's also someone who has trauma that they're dealing with and they're acting out that way into bullying. And so there's a case where counseling referrals may be provided for both either the perpetrator or for the alleged target. ISI, or an alternative to suspension program, this goes along with the California Educational Code, that one of the things is, I know a lot of people, old school is, you did something, we're going to suspend you. You did something, we're going to expel you. Well, first of all, state laws really prohibit what is a suspendable and expellable offense. But the other part is we sent them home. And at that point, that punishment is whatever they and their family makes it to be. But with alternative to suspension, we're keeping them at school, we're keeping them in a separate location, an alternative location. We're working with them in a way that is supposed to be restorative, that is supposed to be reflective of their behavior, that we're providing to them that social emotional part of acknowledging what they did is wrong and what they need to do to correct it, and to understand why they behaved in the way that they did. So I think alternative to suspension, I know it's one that can often be criticized as ineffectual, but when you really think about what we're doing there versus an at-home suspension, there's a lot of positive to it in terms of addressing the issues of bullying. School social workers, interventional specialists, again, it's that idea that to really change people, it takes connections, it takes relationships. Conflict mediations, when it is safe for all the students involved, to bring them in the same room, to talk things out, to work things out. Counseling groups along the same things, and the safety plans, making sure that we have things in safe to keep kids protected.
So the last piece is accountability. And as Mr. Addison spoke about ISI, that is one of the things. So the Ed Code for bullying for discipline is a 48900R. And if you know about school discipline, you cannot suspend for something after the letter F, which means that you cannot suspend for this act alone. But in-school intervention is what we use, and as Mr. Adamson said, it's twofold, right? One, as a removal from the general setting, but two, to teach a skill, right? This is what happened, this is what I need to do differently so that I don't end up back in this circumstance. Restorative justice is a requirement from Ed Code. We also, depending again on this, everything depends on the situation, right? But we can do behavior contracts with students, and there is, of course, district oversight and data polls. And so we get regularly calls like, what happened in this instance? We see that you have this situation. Do you need support? Is there something we should do? Should we look at some things differently? So it is being monitored.
And our next slide is, do you have any questions for us?
Anyone, any of the trustees? It looks like trustee Napier's ready.
I have a couple questions about the ATS and ISI. What staff manages that when the students are in there?
So this year, both of the ISI teachers from the previous year have moved on, whether it's retirement or whatever else. This year we have a staff member named Ryan Lucker who's taken over. He was previously a PE teacher, but he's one that we're working. He's going through the curriculum right now and stuff, and is learning that curriculum and getting support, I know, from the high school, and I've also offered my support as well on it.
Yeah. One of the comments that the last few months, one of the parents that was, coming to the podium about bullying was talking about when their student there was an issue where there was conflict between two students, right? And they couldn't necessarily nail it to one or the other, so they basically gave them both ATS. And so they ended up in the same classroom together for 3 days, and it's like sitting right next to the person that bullied them, or they got in a fight, or whatever. And the parents look, they asked the kids, you have to talk it out with them. And it's like, look, is that person qualified to basically be a mediator and a counselor? I know Mr. Lucker, and I think he's fantastic, but that's a bad position to put kids in. Hey, this kid's been punking me around and bullying me for the last 3 months. Now I got to sit here and you're forcing me to talk to this kid to rehabilitate this situation. I think there needs to be a different look at that. To me, that puts kids in a very bad position.
I do understand your comment. If I could just share a little bit of my experience, and it may be completely to the side of that specific example, but the district that I came from before coming over here also had an ATS program. We used actually the same curriculum as the Blue Water curriculum, and that was a K-8 program, and as the middle school vice principal at that district, I was one that oversaw the teacher in there. And in the same place, that was a teacher who was not necessarily somebody who had a counseling degree or a social worker degree. There does have to be a registered, a certified teacher for that program. But if they're receiving the proper training for the thing, and one of the concerns that I always saw was, well, the two kids just got into a fight and we're putting them in the same room again. But often when they're removed from their friend groups, when they're removed from the peer pressure that is there, and we have somebody who is actively involved in working the curriculum. And that's the key thing, it's that they understand the curriculum and they understand how it's working, that the curriculum is about working things out. And there's no reason why a social worker can't also go into that room, or a behavior specialist can't go into that room and offer that support also for some of those mediations. So there are parts of that program where they can work individually, but there are parts of that program that it actually is about them working things out. Again, I don't want to comment specifically on that situation because I don't know that situation specifically. What I will say is whenever situations similar to that happen, people always come from their perspective of it. And again, the word bullying can often be used, like, if we got into a disagreement and she started name-calling me and I started name-calling her, I might say, well, she's bullying me. But there's a mutuality to it. And if both kids are going in, then my assumption would be that that administrator believed that there was a mutualness in terms of the misbehavior. Yeah.
Okay. So in the ISI room, we also have, there's also a special ed para-educator. So there are 2 adults in there. For our setting, which is where ISI will be this year, we also have a campus supervisor stationed out there. So there are 2 adults in the room, one that is, there's only 4, you've been back there, there's only 4 portables back there. But if there is a situation where we know that we're sending 2 students in, we try, conflict mediation has to be agreed to. If both parties aren't willing to do it, it's not going to be effective. So we would do conflict mediation ahead of time with, we usually do either 2 counselors, a counselor social worker, counselor intervention specialist, you get the idea. Then they're very mindful about watching that, and then we are checking in to make sure that there's not something going on.
Okay. Another question, let's say a student makes a report through the teacher, through you guys, through the app, whatever, that about bullying, or they don't feel comfortable. At what point are the parents notified? The victim's parents, are they notified, and how does that look?
Do you want to already? I think it looks a little bit different just because of the age differences. So we always speak with the, not always, we almost always speak with the student first because of the age group that we're dealing with, right? What's going on? Can you tell me more about it? Then we call parents. So we got this report. This is what your student reported. Because one of the dangers of Say Something is that kids do misuse it, right? Kids will report things that aren't actually happening just because they find it humorous. So that's why we go to the student first to make sure that this is true and factual, and then follow up with the parent after that.
Okay, so that's part of your staff's protocol, is that they will always contact a parent.
Yeah, parents should always be, and I was going to say the same. In general, we would also most likely, depending, I mean, if we have something that's really serious, we might call the parent and let them know that we're investigating. But most of the time, you don't really want to call a parent until you've been able to really get a full picture of what the actual story is and what the facts are, so that when parents are asking questions, you can more or less have a certain level of certainty of the information you're providing them.
So if a kid makes a complaint, I'm being bullied, I'm being picked on, and it's found it to be true, other witnesses saying, yeah, this kid is saying X, Y, Z about this kid, that kid goes to ISI for X number of days. If it's repeated over, and some kids just don't care, right? They get back out, they're like, now I'm pissed off even more that you did this to me. What is the progressive discipline on this aspect?
So, when Christy spoke earlier about 48900R and what the educational code said, 48900R is a suspension code, which means it is a suspendable offense. And what it says is you can't do it on the first time. That there has to be some means of restorative justice, restorative practice in there. So after it's happened a second time, we are able to start to go towards suspension. If we've had multiple suspensions, we can go towards an expulsion as well. So there is the ability to keep ramping it up to that point, that if a student is continuously doing it, we can follow all of those things. And then the other part is law enforcement can also be brought in if it is a continual pattern of bullying that has shown that there are interventions that have been put in place and have not been able to successfully deter the undesired behavior.
Yeah, that was my next point, is that obviously I'm one of 7 board members here, and I'm not here to direct you, but my expectation and hope would be that I think we've all heard enough. We've heard enough from the public. We are growing tired of it. Our expectation of you guys is is you follow the letter of the law. If it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's progressive, you do that. Set the standard from these kids, just like expulsions. There are certain things that the world doesn't tolerate anymore, right? These accusations being a school shooter. We don't tolerate that. No districts tolerate that anymore, right? So we know the ramifications of that. And so my hope is, as a board member, that we get feedback from parents saying, man, my kid got suspended, what the heck? And you go, yeah, X, Y, Z happened, and we got there, and it's going to continue. And if it goes to law enforcement, obviously we hope that never happens, but if it gets to that point, that's our expectation. That's my big thing, is that the accountability and the follow-through, we can have all the ed codes we want, all the training we want, but if we're going to blow it off, or we're just going to kind of like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal, let's show the kids and the parents and the staff that we care. It's disruptive to the kids, it's disruptive to the teachers and the staff. So I just really hope that we all in this room agree that we're over it. We're tired of hearing about it, and it's on you guys as administrators there to enforce this. And we here as a board are here to back you up on that. But I hope that we've kind of turned the table here and got some new leadership. You have board back up here saying that's we're here for you guys. We have SRO who's on site every day. If there needs to be just a simple conversation, sometimes that can help. And I just hope that we can take a step in the right direction after this.
Any other questions?
Vice President Kelly? Oh,
When,
Trustee Christensen, go ahead.
thank you, sorry about that. When, in the situation, okay, because I'm looking at timeframes. So, we start the day out, all of a sudden you guys get notified by the student, I got bullied, he stole my lunch money, whatever it is. At that point, what I'm looking at is, now I have 2 students that are involved. Are they both removed from class and separated at that point, or are they left? See, what my concern is that I wasn't a bully, but I kind of stopped bullying when I was younger. I was the little tank that could. And the thing that I'm looking at is that if they're left in class, or if they're left to transverse their daily schedule up and down the hallway, that one of them may end up with the imprint of a locker on the back of their head or something. If you report it, I report it, oh, really? Boom, right? What I'm looking at is the one that's being bullied or the one that is bullying separated so that that cross-section doesn't happen during the day until your investigation has gotten to a point where, okay, this is what happened, so now we go to the next stage, which is, the disciplinary, or, okay, you see where I'm going? You see how I'm going with this? Because the other concern is what about the next day? If we don't do anything the first day, what about the next day? Are we going to do something the next day that's going to stop it?
So that is actually part of what gets tricky. And in every bullying situation is uniquely different. I mean, I just repeated myself, but in the fact that as you get the stories, you start to feel how it is that each one needs to respond. I can think of a situation last year where I had a girl come and report bullying in terms of name calling. And in that specific scenario, I don't know that there was ever any threat of violence between her and the other student at all. Having said that, yeah, I want to keep them separated. I would ask her schedule, I would look at her schedule, I would look at the other kid's schedule and stuff. And if I needed to keep her up in the office, I might do that. If I'm pulling him up in the office, I might release her back into class. And so you do look to avoid separating them out. You also look to actually try to separate out them from their witnesses, just so they can't collaborate stories, and you can get as honest of a witness account as you can as well. In terms of the other part of your scenario where we have the retaliation. The retaliation part is actually where bullying gets very tricky. It's not so much in how you created it in your scenario where they would talk to each other. That's actually normally done through cell phone. They will arrange meet-up points, and it may be on school, it may be off campus, it may be at different times and stuff, and they will observe where the weak points of observations are on a school campus. And so we're obviously having to constantly adjust that. But that's where, going back to a question that Boardman Napier asked earlier, the contact with the parent becomes very important. That hopefully as we make contact with the parents and make them aware of a situation of bullying, that by the parents being aware of it and the parents hopefully being also involved, it decreases the likelihood of retaliation. And normally, again, depending on the severity of the bullying that we're talking about, in your case, we're talking about a very severe case, we have to have a part of our plan, that follow-up of checking in on where the situation is.
And then just to add to that, we also have our clerical staff trained, because what happens, right, an incident happens, we get an incident report, right? Mr. Kaminsky's laughing because he's having like flashbacks, I think. And then it's like you have these floodgates in the office, right? And now you're trying to separate all the people. So our staff, you know, they've been trained to like witness report, right? Like, look at that. Are any of those people sitting by each other? Like, can we move? And we're fortunate because of the way that our office is shaped that we really do have a lot of opportunities to separate people. And then we've also, as an administration team, made it a point that in our schedules, right, like somebody is dedicated to be in the office to receive these things. Somebody's dedicated to be in classrooms, out observing in the classrooms. So we always have someone available, you know, to the best of our ability. And so that is also, that's a change that we've made just to adjust to the needs.
And Hojak, I just heard Christy say I need my office redesigned to be like theirs so I can better, no?
If I had to deal with it, you have to deal with it. Vice President Kelly.
Thank you. Is there any part of this new this year, or are you just bringing it up to our attention so we understand your procedures better?
So the PRISM part is definitely new. I'm going to try to go through it. The PRISM is definitely a new part of it. In terms of some of the other things, the Bulldog Basics or the inclusion lessons, the Student Support Service Solution, those are new things, or those are things that we adjust and bring in the new information as we go along. So some of these trainings that we do are constantly updated, and so there's new information brought to staff that way. The PRISM is completely new. The Student Support Service Solutions, again, is new. So those are all newer aspects to it. The other ones are things that are there that we have continued through that have been in place.
Thank you.
And then if I can just be frank, and this may not be the appropriate time, but I also think it's new to have the kind of support that we have.
Thank you.
If I can just add to that as well, Andrea Paxton has implemented a new professional development with S4, which will deal with a bullying professional development and investigations as well that all of our administrative team will be going through.
That's what the Student Support Services Solutions is.
Any other questions? I have a few. When will students be informed at each side of Say Something, and how?
Tomorrow for us. So in our, we have a welcome back video that everyone will get to see third period. And then our counselors go in the second and third week of school into the English classes and do like a freshman 101, a sophomore, and so then they get it again in there.
Thank you.
And I believe that we're scheduled to start sharing that information on Monday.
So some of the most frustrating things I had to deal with as a principal and vice principal was a third person reporting an incident. And you bring in the victim and, well, no, nothing. I don't know why they told you that. They obviously have been intimidated. So how was that handled?
So for me, if a third person says it, I might still try to get that information. If the person who's said to be the victim is denying it, I might go back to that third person, gather other witnesses that might be able to confirm their thing. If you're never able to prove it, you might still want to contact parents and say, hey, your child, we had this report, your child says it's not true, we want to make you aware of it, and if you hear anything, please come back to us so that we can deal with it. I think the more that we can get that parent communication piece in there, because I know one of the things you guys will hear is, we said something and nothing was done, which normally the truth is something may not have been effective, or something might have been effective for a week, but then it picked back up again and we were never made aware of it. And so that's one of those things where we have to dig a little bit deeper beyond that one person who's alleged victim. And if we can't prove something, making that parent communication piece that, hey, if you can be on the lookout for this, we've heard this, but we don't have any way to confirm it.
And then additionally, doing like a counseling or social worker referral, because sometimes that one-on-one with somebody who seems a little less intimidating perhaps, can really help to open that conversation piece to get that information.
Thank you. Is PRISM at the elementary sites as well?
7 through 12.
Yeah, it's a secondary.
Okay. And at each of your sites, you may, and I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. I know this school hasn't started yet, and you may not be able to answer some of these questions, and just get back to me when you can. What are some of the positive PBIS consequences at each site?
So we're using Minga for our positive points. If your student, so we've updated it a little bit. We started it last year. So if your student got like a praise point, you would get this email, but the email was worded really weird. And so it'd be like, your child has been awarded a behavior. Like, oh, that doesn't sound like an award, right? So we've revamped it. So now it says like, your student has been praised for. So as a parent, you're gonna get that right away. The student gets it when you open it in Minga. It gives you like confetti, woo, just like that. And then additionally, like those points they can use for things. So, you know, we did attendance awards. Last year we did some PBIS, so they got like gloves or like beanies, things like that. So those are what we have in place. I think yours is a little more robust.
So we also have, we're a little behind them on the Minga part. We're still learning how to use Minga over at the middle school, but we have the PBIS store and stuff. We have different things that they can buy into with their PBIS points. We also have a game room. So at lunch they can go with their friends, and we have different little things. We have like skeet where they can play that, air hockey, ping pong, different games like that that they can play as well. So there's things that as they accumulate Bulldog Bucks is what we call our point system. They can exchange it for some type of token society reward that they want to use it on.
Thank you. And how are the social-emotional learning lessons delivered to students? That's my last question.
So via the social worker and the intervention specialist. So they do it in the science level classes.
And again, we have the same people who work on the lessons, but we've created, we refer to it as flex, but now we're referring to it as homeroom, a homeroom period in which it's delivered at that time.
I assumed that, but thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thank you both very much for the presentation. Now we're in general function, superintendent update. Mr. Bell.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. So our update here for our August 12th, just wanted to give everybody a heads up of what was happening throughout my start of July 1st, so there we go. On July 28th and 29th, we had our leadership advance, and at the advance, this is a great opportunity to go over district initiatives, and then, of course, talk about my vision for the upcoming year. We had some very festive team-building activities that I was able to see the competitive spirit that is involved with our site management teams and district management teams, and then also the camaraderie between the teams. So it was very, very exciting to see that as we started the end of July here leading into the school year. On August the 7th, Andrea Paxton and her instructional team conducted our new teacher orientation, and at this orientation, they were able to cover any, first of all, welcome our new staff and introduce them to educational platforms and district policies and procedures, familiarize themselves with technology, and then share essential information that will be needed for all of our new staff here in the district office. Yesterday, we had our welcome back event at Central Park. It was very fun, festive for everybody. Very well attended. We had President Kaminsky and Trustee Wood there as well to celebrate the event. This is a great opportunity to share out kind of a common vision, right, and some goals for us as a district. During that event, we recognized staff members that had 10 years, in the bottom left, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, and 30 years of service with the district. And I want to congratulate all of them and thank them for their service to Tehachapi Unified School District. Again, very fun and rewarding event there. For a community event, I was able to attend Coffee with the Mayor at the Mountain Coffee House, where I had the opportunity to connect with community leaders. And this is a great opportunity to share and learn about the partnerships between Tehachapi Unified School District and other community partners. And so I want to really kind of grow our partnership with the other organizations in the community, and I'll continue to attend local events that will help build our partnerships with them. For current enrollment, wanted to show a couple of different items. So the first column is represented by the first day of enrollment for the 24-25 school year, and it wasn't broken down in kids, it just gave me an overall. So 4,175 students were enrolled on the first day of last year. If you bounce to the right column, those enrollment numbers are as of today, 4,203, and obviously we'll probably have more enrollments as of tomorrow as well. And then we'll fluctuate our enrollment over the next probably, 5 to 10 days as well. So we'll see how those turn out. But I also wanted to provide you kind of the end of year of 24-25, that middle column at 4117, to see where we ended the school year and then where we're starting. So one of the early recognitions of increased enrollment happens to be in the kinder environment, and that's a great problem to have, knowing that many districts up and down the state of California have had declining enrollment. But to be able to have a birth rate fluctuation at that kinder level of students is a real positive thing for our district, and so really appreciate that. So great numbers going into tomorrow's first day. Our bulletin boards, those were decorated by our instructional team, and they were able to provide photos on the one board to the, let's see here, the left board. The left board is obviously pictures from our new teacher orientation, as well as professional development that happened in the 24-25 school year at the end of the year. So to be able to recognize all of those professional developments. And the board on the right is showing participation at the mountain camp for the 3rd and 5th grade students, and also pictures of the 8th grade Catalina trip, and photographs of our CASP winners from last school year. So great opportunity for there. Please make sure you guys check that on your way out. My final slide here represents all upcoming dates that are happening in the district. I wanted to highlight to make sure everybody knew when our back to school nights were located. Our first one will be this week, August the 14th. at Tompkins. We've got Cummings Valley and Golden Hills on the same day. Our regular board meeting on the 26th of August. We'll go into JMS Back to School Night, TILA Back to School Night. Don't forget about Labor Day on September the 1st. And finally into our THS Back to School Night. So I appreciate everybody getting those out. And I'll get everybody a copy of that as well for everybody.
Will you be sending those to us?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. Although I don't have a slide here, I just would like to thank our custodial staff, maintenance staff, and technology staff for all the hard work that they've done this summer to prepare our campuses to receive students tomorrow. Got to tell you, I really appreciate all the hard work from those teams. So that's all I have for this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. TAT update, Ms. Bowman.
Good evening, President Kaminsky, members of the board, Superintendent Bell, members of the public. I'm Val Bowman, and I'm the president of the Tehachapi Association of Teachers. Teachers came back yesterday. We were all tired, and we were not ready to get up quite so early in the morning. And students come tomorrow, and teachers are almost ready. You know, they always say, oh, my room's not ready, it's not ready, but the rooms are ready. Enough. I was looking back at my speeches that I have done over the past 5 years, you know, the Tuesday before school starts on Wednesday, and they've always been the same. And so I'm changing it up a little bit. So the other day I was reminded of one of my most influential teachers in my young life, and her name was PK, and I met her my sophomore year of high school, and we called her PK. We didn't call her like Mrs., we called her PK. And she taught English, but I remained with her through the next 2 years. She taught me and many others the importance of having integrity when reporting stories for the school and our local newspapers. And I'm a writer today because of her. She taught me that writing is a puzzle, and once solved, your result can be amazing. So as I traveled down the blue-tinged road of nostalgia and I notified people about her passing, they reminded me what a positive impact a teacher can have on the lives of so many, even after so many decades have passed. Now, I won't tell you how many decades, because then that tells you how old I am, but it's been a while. The connections she made with students of all races, creeds, social standings, and life situations continue to positively affect those people today. This past weekend, we swapped stories on Saturday and on Sunday. The reoccurring themes were about her ability to connect with students, allowing teens to be themselves, treating kids as the adults they were becoming, having authentic conversations, helping kids through the illnesses and deaths of parents and friends, allowing time for critical thinking skills to develop, and her uproarious laugh. Funnily, it was kind of funny to think about this, but all of us said that none of us used the word "that" in our writings because it's just an unnecessary word. We laugh because it's a PKism. She would always say, you never need to use that. It's an unnecessary word. So many of her former journalism students carried on writing professionally. I did, in one form or another, and some of them are published photographers as well. She and her classes were safe places where students had the potential to thrive, and for many, it was often a safer place than their homes were. Everyone I communicated with said it was thanks to her guidance. They did what they did, and they became who they are. It is a true testament to one's career and professional life to still be a beloved teacher decades after retirement, and even longer since we had her as a teacher. As a 26-year launches, it is TAT's desire to have a successful year. I mean, of course, we all want that. But even more is the desire for our members to make positive connections with students. One connection, just one positive connection, can last a lifetime, and the impact can be passed down from one to another. It's a simple act of kindness that person might not even know they're doing. This happens with support from the school board, all levels of administration, parents, the teachers, but most of all from the students themselves. They too can leave impressions that last a lifetime, and positive interactions lift and inspire. Imagine what a school year could be with only positive interactions between students, parents, and staff. So tomorrow's the big blast-off. TAT looks forward to partnering with and communicating with the school board, district office, admin, other teachers, and all stakeholders as we soar into the next school year. So everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. CSEA update. Seeing no one from CSEA, let's go to board communications. Trustee Napier.
I have a comment. I've been on the board for 5 years, and for the last 5 years, I've been complaining at Hojat about the JMS gym over and over and over and over. And I'm excited to say that I reached out to Kirk Gilbert last week, asking for a sneak peek at the gym. Went by there yesterday afternoon or yesterday morning, and it's amazing. If you haven't been there, just wait till you see it. It looks completely different. I showed it to my kids on just a picture, and they had all gone through that school, and they were literally blown away. They didn't recognize it. My youngest son is in 8th grade. He's not really a sports kid, so my kids won't actually enjoy it, but very, very excited for the kids and the staff to show up. There's so much value in a facility that you take pride in. You know, that pride translates to being a good student, being a good teacher, being a good member of society, all that kind of stuff. So not to mention the safety for the kids, be able to actually, they can actually call traveling this year for basketball as opposed to letting the kids slide 14 feet and not calling traveling. So yeah, very excited about that. That was a very exciting day to walk in and see that. So thanks to Hojat and Kirk and their team. That was awesome to see. Second thing was, for the first time, I have 6 kids, but for the first time we have one student of ours going to be joining TILA this year with kind of a blended model of TILA and the high school, and got to do kind of a one-on-one orientation with their staff this week, and they were amazing. Wendy, Vanessa, they were just the most helpful, kind, caring, amazing people to work with, and it was definitely one of those moments where my son felt like someone cared about him. Not that the other teachers don't, but that one-on-one attention was exactly what he needed. So I just want to say big shout out and thank you to them.
Thank you, Trustee Napier. Anyone else? I had the pleasure of attending the class of 1975's class reunion, their 50th, if you can't do the math. I've gone to each one of them, but I'm not a member of the class of 1975. I didn't go to Tehachapi High School, but my wife did, and she's been on the committee, the reunion committee, every year. And so she voluntold me that while the official reunion was going to be on Saturday, the 2nd of August, I was going to get my backyard ready for a party the night before, a pre-reunion party. And we had a good turnout at both, probably about 40, roughly. I didn't do a head count. A little bit more Saturday at P-Dubs. Some people went just to the party on Friday, others went to just P-Dubs. And then 26 of the graduates went to the Old Timers Reunion because they are, after all senior citizens. It hurts to say that, but anyway. After that, a bunch, including my wife and I, went to TK's to socialize some more. It's a class, I know I don't know, Trustee Napier might say, no, my class was better socially. I don't know. This class only had about, I kept asking different people, and the numbers were between like 105 and 111. Well, now it's around 300. But, and about 37, I believe, have passed away. So the turnout actually was pretty good. And it's like a family. Some people I catch up on from 10 years before. We had one gentleman come from Washington, D.C., He hadn't been to any of the reunions, but he said the 50th I have to be at. And to give an example of the family feel this class has, and I just hope every class has something close to this. Graduate Mike Thompson was running a trivia contest and giving away prizes to like who came the farthest, et cetera. And one of the other graduates that was sitting at a table came up to Mike and asked him if he could speak to the class. And Mike graciously said, sure, handed him the microphone. And his comment was, I didn't know I was Mexican till I moved away from Tehachapi. So, that was a much smaller town, and they looked after each other. I'm not going to say they all got along, because I've heard some of the girl drama still exists 50 years later. But I just had a great time. And they're talking about meeting in 5 years, maybe 3 years, and not have it at a restaurant, but in my backyard. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for letting me share. Public comments. Police Chief Richard Standridge. Chief, come on up. Sorry, Chief, I have to give my spiel. Public comments will be allowed. The board president will recognize any member of the audience wishing to speak on items not on the agenda but directly related to school business. Unless otherwise determined by the board, individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item, and the board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes, Board Bylaw 9323. If appropriate, the president or any member of the board may direct that the matter be referred to the superintendent's office for placement on a future agenda. Okay, Chief, now you're up.
Thank you, Board. So just to talk real quick, the superintendent and I met before the school year, obviously. We're going to get a contract done tonight to keep the services going, which I wanted to say thank you and I appreciate. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the bullying. I wasn't aware that it was such an issue as it has become, and that concerns me. And the superintendent had brought it to my attention, so one of the things we're going to do is I'm now receiving every agenda that's sent out. And in the past, I didn't come as often, but I'm going to at least appear once a quarter, or if specific items require my attention, either myself or a member of my command staff will be here. As you can see, the school resource officer will be at the board meetings from now on as well. Also, one of the things I want to make clear is he is a resource. He is not here to be the corporal punishment. He is not here to be the law on campus. He is here as a resource, and his law enforcement is secondary to that. So I want to make sure that everyone understands to utilize him for that. So he's been directed to meet with both the intervention specialist and the social worker to see where he can help there and be an asset to these principals. Bullying becomes such a problem that it starts taking away from the kids that are sitting in class every day behaving and want to get an education, and it stresses our educators and it stresses our administration to the point where we can't get necessary functions done daily because we're dealing with disciplinary problems. So I want to see him utilized more. He's been directed to be on a different campus every day during brunch and lunch if he's not on a call for service, to be out there interacting with the youth. So primarily, I think our middle school, which is typical for that age group, is a little bit more active right now in that, so he'll be paying more attention to that campus until it's deemed that he needs to move on to another campus. So I hope that that kind of puts everyone's mind at ease. I'm not going to get intimately involved with each case, obviously, because I just don't have the time, and that's what I have officers and sergeants and lieutenants for. But if there is a matter of concern, everybody has access to me in my email, and I will respond, and I will direct that issue to be handled appropriately. So I want to make that available as well. I have experience as a school resource officer. It was the best job I ever had, other than being the Tehachapi police chief. And so I understand how important it is. We've been looking at what programs we can find to send our officers and our school resource officer to for bullying, but that doesn't seem to be the flavor of the month right now as the law enforcement training goes. It seems to be more focused on wellness and school safety. I will tell you, these schools are pretty gosh darn safe. I appreciate the safety measures that are put in place when you're trying to get into the front door of the campus. Just to let you and all the other parents know, I get stopped every time I walk in the door and I'm dressed like this, and people know where I'm going. So, but I appreciate that because I'm not treated any differently than anyone else. Chief has to sign in, so is everyone else, and vice versa. And so I think that's great. We want to support our school staff. I want to ensure that our school resource officer is used. If we can change behaviors in these young people now, then they don't become issues later. And this is the only opportunity we're going to have to change behaviors. There was a study done by UC Davis years ago, and I used to know the individual that ran a program for San Jose School District, and it's kind of went by the wayside because things have changed. But they actually determined that 3rd, 7th, I think it's 3rd, 7th, and 11th grade are about your only opportunities to make changes, because by then the kids are starting to formulate who they are, their behaviors are entrenched, the social norms have started to take over, and it's harder to make those changes. So I think if we can really start making the changes focused on the middle school, a lot of times it's education, and it's kids not realizing they're bullying, it's not realizing what behaviors are accepted, and I feel for the district folks here working hard trying to get a hold of parents. A lot of parents are both working out of the house, and I understand those things. So I want to really ensure that we're here to support. We're also going to take a look at some of the other districts and some of the other police departments to see what they're doing as it relates to restorative justice and some of those other programs. They do work if they're implemented. The in-school suspensions work if they're implemented, and these folks back here, listening to the plan they have, I think they've got a pretty good grasp on what they're going to try to do, and again, we'll be there to support them. And again, to agree with Mr. Napier, there are some kids that are not going to go with the program, and if they don't, then at that time, I would hope that we are engaged earlier in the process of bullying, but also engaged at the time when it comes, when it has to be punitive, and we have to take the necessary steps to either get a referral to probation or the DA's office. So as the year goes, I'll look for more training opportunities, more opportunities to get probation and things like that involved in maybe some campus activities or some trainings or just coming and walking around campus. We'll see what we can do, but this is an ever-evolving program. And I think we don't rest on our laurels and just say it's great to have a cop on campus every day. I would like to see us to be considered almost like staff, where the kids feel comfortable coming to him or her to talk to them about issues not necessarily related to anything other than being safe on campus and being part of the team. So if there's any questions from me, I'd love to take them.
Not seeing anyone. You must have been clear and succinct. Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Marcus Coates.
Oh, good evening, board members. Just wanted to give you guys another update on the wrestling program. And what we have been working to achieve. We've had four days a week of practice since the beginning of summer. This was a summer program with the club, but it doubled as a high school summer program because we didn't have an assigned coach. We have facilitated extra strength and cardio training. We have organized and participated in multiple camps with world-class technicians. We have been coordinating with boosters in order to get some fundraisers started. We have secured sponsors committed to purchasing uniforms for the upcoming season for the boys, and we are setting up fundraisers for both programs, girls and boys. We are currently organizing 2 more clinics before the season begins. One will feature All-American Nathan Morgan, and the other, still pending but in the works, will feature world team member Anthony Valencia. I'm doing everything in my power to provide the best for the kids. Even though I do not yet hold an official coaching position, I want to see the Tehachapi wrestling program succeed, regardless of everything that has been slowing the progress. I refuse to let the obstacles get in the way of the kids' success. We have some very special, dedicated athletes who want to succeed, and I'm here for them. I also want to highlight that the preseason for the wrestling season begins in October. Other coaches are planning their dual schedules and their upcoming tournament schedules. Unless something is being done behind the scenes, we are behind. So we need to get that squared away soon. So, thank you.
Thank you, Marcus, for the update. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. In order to promote efficient meetings, the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together by a single vote through the use of a consent agenda. Consent items shall be items of a routine nature and items for which board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. When any board member requests the removal of an item from the consent agenda, the item shall be removed and given individual consideration for action as a regular agenda item. Does any trustee wish to address any of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Kelly, make the motion.
Second.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Christensen. The board approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to new business. Item 1. Approval of resolution number 01-AUG-25, establishment of a maintenance and operations revolving cash fund. The board have any questions? Seeing none. This is a short resolution, so I'll read it for the record. Resolution 01-AUG-25, whereas it is necessary for the efficient operation of the Tehachapi Unified School District to establish a designated account to facilitate timely and accurate payments for general maintenance and operations expenditures, and whereas California Education Code Sections 42800 to 42805 authorize the Board of Trustees to establish a revolving cash fund for such purposes and to delegate its administration to a district officer or employee. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Tehachapi Unified School District hereby authorizes the Chief Administrator of Business Services to establish and administer a maintenance and operations revolving cash fund for the purpose of processing payments related to the maintenance and upkeep of district properties and facilities. Be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Tehachapi Unified School District authorizes the establishment of a maintenance and operations revolving cash fund under the following considerations. Disbursements shall be for lawful expenditures. Wage payments shall not be made out of this account. Each disbursement shall be made in full. No progress payments shall be issued. A signed receipt should be obtained for each account disbursement. Records and receipts shall be maintained for the established retention period. Voided checks shall be retained on file. Unused checks shall be maintained in a secured location and only accessible to authorized personnel. Checks shall be pre-numbered, identify the fund and the district. Wherever possible, a specific custodian/payee shall be designated, and dual signatures shall be required on all checks. Are there any questions on the resolution? Seeing that, I need a motion for the board to approve resolution number 01-AUG-25, establishment of a maintenance and operations revolving cash fund as presented.
I so move.
I'll second.
This motion by Trustee Christensen and seconded by Clerk Wood. The board approved resolution number 01-AUG-25, establishment of a maintenance and operations revolving cash fund. And since it's a resolution, we need a roll call vote. Ms. Barnes?
President Kaminsky.
Aye.
Vice President Kelly.
Aye.
Clerk Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Cooper.
Aye.
Trustee Christensen.
Aye.
Trustee Napier.
Aye.
Trustee Sweeney absent.
Motion carries 6-0. Number 2, approval of declaring certain district property as surplus/obsolete and instructional services in Cummings Valley Elementary. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve declaring certain district property as surplus/obsolete in instructional services in Cummings Valley Elementary as presented?
Kelly, I make the motion.
Second.
There's motion by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Cooper, that the board approve declaring certain district property as surplus and obsolete in instructional services in Cummings Valley Elementary. Again, it's a roll call vote. Ms.
Pres-
Barnes?
President Kaminsky.
Aye.
Vice President Kelly.
Aye.
Clerk Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Cooper.
Aye.
Trustee Christensen.
Aye.
Trustee Napier.
Aye.
Trustee Sweeney absent.
Motion carries 6-0. Number 3, information item, Williams Complaint Quarterly Report. Mrs. Paxton.
There's not much to report. There's no Williams complaints.
Thank you.
That's easy.
Future items. This is item number 8 for tonight. Any trustee have any future items?
You have number 4 under new business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 4, approval of agreement between Tehachapi Unified School District and Michelle Anderson, LMFT. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the agreement between Tehachapi Unified School District and Michelle Anderson, LMFT?
Kelly, I make the motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Cooper, for the board to approve the agreement between Tehachapi Unified School District and Michelle Anderson, LMFT. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Now we're at future items. Any trustee have future items they wish to bring up? I have 3, but one's not for, first one's not for a board meeting. Superintendent Bell, if you could start arranging site visits in the month of September, and starting at either THS or JMS. I've started at Cummings Valley. We'll give Principal Markuson a break. And just a reminder that the cell phone policy adjustment needs to be made this year per state law. And we might want to put on an agenda item to get input on, at least from the trustees and also the public and staff, what kind of meetings we should have with parents, administrators, teachers, students, and staff. And then yesterday, Superintendent Bell, you joggled my mind when you talked about attendance. And to reiterate what you said, our goal, as it's always been our goal, is 95% attendance. And last year was at 91.7. And I would like to know, again, not necessarily in a board meeting, but an update on what exactly we're utilizing. I have talked to Mrs. Paxton about utilizing the person that's in charge of truancy and working with administrators and staff, especially concentrating on those with chronic absences first, so that's all I have. Anybody else? No? All right. And I've reached the last item on the agenda, which is adjournment, and we are adjourning at 6:17.